In the world of mixed martial arts, few things are as aesthetically pleasing as a potent counter-striker. That one perfectly timed punch is exactly why many of us watch combat sports in the first place. But for newly crowned World Series of Fighting bantamweight champion Marlon Moraes, it's rarely about that one perfect punch. Rather, Moraes' strike of choice is the humble leg kick, and instead of just one, he throws dozens upon dozens, breaking his unfortunate opponents down over the course of the entire fight. The latest such victim was one Josh Reddinghouse. A counter kicker's art is a dangerous one. Taking a punch mid-kick with only one foot on the ground can be disastrous, and the slower speed of kicks compared to punches makes good timing absolutely essential. Moraes gets his opponent's timing by seizing control of the distance. Here, as Reddinghouse tests the range with a stepping jab, Moraes quickly counters him with a hard kick to the body. The moment that Reddinghouse's jab touches Moraes' guard, he pulls his head back and unloads a kick to the ribs. The message? Cross this space, and I'll make you pay. To make Reddinghouse even more antsy, Moraes punishes him for even testing the range. Moraes simply lets Reddinghouse touch his gloves, essentially measuring his range for him, and then makes him pay for standing so close. And though Moraes' boxing is nothing to marvel at, he's smart enough to follow his kicks with a jab, just in case Reddinghouse gets any ideas and tries to rush him before he recovers his stance. Once Reddinghouse feels that he can't test the range without being tagged, he begins desperately throwing power shots, hoping to just land something, anything of meaning. And because Reddinghouse can't properly measure the distance with his jab, he ends up reaching, recklessly throwing his weight forward and making it impossible to avoid Moraes' kicks. And again. In this sequence, Reddinghouse is helpless to check or avoid an inside leg kick from Moraes because his whiffed right hand puts all of his weight on his left leg. And because Reddinghouse's weight-bearing left leg is displaced by the kick, he can't put himself close enough to Moraes' hips to secure the takedown. Reddinghouse's only other option, to which he went throughout the fight, was to throw some kicks of his own to make up for his inability to close the gap. As I mentioned before, however, kicks are much slower than punches. Reddinghouse was able to put himself in kicking range, but without any threat from his hands, Moraes saw every kick coming well in advance. In this sequence, Moraes parries a switch kick and counters with a left hook. First, Moraes blocks the kick. Then he parries the kick, throwing Reddinghouse's leg to his left and opening him for the counter. Moraes also countered Reddinghouse's kicks with his own, which proved much more effective. Because Reddinghouse has no setup for his kicks, Moraes has little difficulty defending them, and then showing Reddinghouse exactly why kicking is best left to the experts. He executes the same block and parry as before, but this time he elects to hamstring his opponent with a right low kick. When Reddinghouse threw his own low kicks, Moraes simply let them miss. This time, Moraes doesn't need to block and parry. The pullback of his left leg causes Reddinghouse to leave himself open. Moraes pulls his leg just out of range. Eventually, Moraes' vicious counters made Reddinghouse hesitant to the point that he flat out refused to lead. So, Moraes found other openings. This time, Moraes demonstrates the patience necessary to any great counter-striker. He waits, right in front of Rettinghouse, until his opponent gets into too predictable a rhythm. This one's cool, let's watch it again. Rettinghouse is feinting by dropping his weight, trying to keep Moraes guessing. But Moraes has no fear of Rettinghouse, he's just waiting on openings. Rettinghouse drops his weight again and pivots. The back of his leg is now open. If you're going to establish a rhythm, you have to be willing to abandon it and attack. Giving the opponent a rhythm without seizing the initiative is like giving him a detailed blueprint to hitting you. Once more at full speed. Finally, Moraes was forced to quit waiting on his increasingly unwilling opponent and began utilizing the threat he had spent the whole fight establishing. Moraes turns on the pressure, threatening with punches as he moves forward, and then cracking Rettinghouse with yet another vicious kick to the leg. Moraes plays with rhythm himself, throwing his feints slow and then... once more. Ultimately, this fight turned out to be a total mismatch. Rettinghouse's toughness was far greater than his skill set, at least at this time in his young career. However, mismatches often make great showcases for talented fighters, and so this one was for Marlon Moraes. If nothing else, the bout was a great opportunity to look at the finer points of the game of one of the sport's best counter kickers.